Look closely at this flickering light. You are at the bottom of a pitch-black coal mine. The year is 1889. The boy holding this flame is an 11-year-old door boy named Evan Roberts. He has no formal education and no theological degree, yet this ordinary miner's prayer birthed a spiritual movement reaching more than 600 million people. By the late 19th century, Wales was a rugged industrial landscape. The nation possessed a rich Christian heritage stretching back centuries, but that fire was fading. For many, faith had settled into a quiet, formal routine, a religion of habit rather than conviction. This was the ocean collier. It was a place of brutal, exhausting labor. Men and boys spent their days trapped in the dark, breathing coal dust and hauling massive weights until their bodies gave out. Evan Roberts spent his youth here. While the older men joked and drank during breaks, Evan agonized over the failure of Christianity in his nation. He saw a land full of churches, but empty of spiritual power. He turned that agony into a discipline. Every morning before descending into the earth, and every night before sleep, Evan prayed for a national revival. He repeated this exact routine every single day, without seeing any visible results, for 13 unbroken years. While religious institutions plotted grand strategies, this catalyst emerged from the depths of the mine. God bypassed the universities and the pulpits to find a vessel in the most unlikely place. Spiritual awakenings often originate from the dirt. They are fueled by the desperate, hidden persistence of the marginalized rather than the plans of the elite. In the spring of 1904, Evan's 13-year silence broke. He began waking at 1 a.m. every night. For 4 hours, he experienced a profound communion with God that altered his entire nature, leaving him with an unspeakable sense of awe. This follows a specific biblical archetype. Just as the prophet Elijah was drafted straight from the plow, Evan was being pulled out of the coal dust for a specific mission. The defining moment arrived at a church convention in Blananark. An evangelist named Seth Joshua stood before the congregation and offered a disruptive prayer. "Lord, bend us." When those words hit Evan, he collapsed. He was overcome by a visceral understanding of sacrificial love. The reaction was so intense that he began to sweat and weep, his body trembling as he grappled with the weight of total surrender. Through the tears, Evan cried out with a total submission of his own will, "Bend me, bend me." This movement grew from that single moment of terrifying, complete submission to the divine will. Following his surrender, Evan's obsession with his own soul was replaced by a burden for others. This focus culminated in a specific vision. He saw Jesus presenting a check for 100,000 souls in Wales. He immediately abandoned his seminary studies to claim it. He returned to his hometown of Lower. His vision for a nation began at Moriah Chapel, in a small meeting with just 17 young people sitting in the back rows. Evan delivered a specific 4-point blueprint. First, total transparency. Every person had to honestly confess any known sin to God. Second, radical self-denial. They had to remove every doubtful or questionable habit from their lives. If it stood between them and God, it had to be destroyed. Third, absolute submission. They were to obey the promptings of the Holy Spirit immediately, regardless of their own comfort or social standing. Finally, unashamed declaration. They had to publicly confess their faith in Christ to the world. These 4 strict conditions transformed that small room into a spiritual epicenter that soon swallowed the entire nation. Local attendance exploded within days. 17 youths became 60, then hundreds. By the end of the week, over 800 people were overflowing the small stone chapel. The traditional, orderly church service vanished. In its place were leaderless, spontaneous symphonies of weeping, prayer, and harmonious singing that frequently lasted until 4 in the morning. They were operating on a biblical mandate, speaking to one another in psalms and spiritual songs, making music from the heart. The fervor spilled onto the streets. A local schoolmaster named T.C. Thomas fell to his knees on the cobblestones and began praising God. Men walked right out of the local taverns, some still holding beer glasses, to join him in worship. The gatherings became so autonomous that Evan himself was no longer the focus. At one meeting of 3,000 people, he simply told the crowd they didn't need him because Jesus was already present. Then he put on his coat and left. By stripping away human performance, the masses were forced into unscripted, direct communion with the divine. This chart plots the staggering metrics of the revival. Evan Roberts saw his vision realized. 100,000 people surrendered to Christ in exactly 60 days. Look at the social fallout. As conversions spiked, the local crime rate dropped by 40%. District courts had no cases left to try, and judges were presented with white gloves as a symbol of a crime-free session. The alcohol trade suffered a devastating blow. Pubs sat empty, and breweries lost massive revenue as men chose their families over the tavern. But the most undeniable proof of a changed society was found deep in the coal mines. The pit ponies suddenly stopped working. For years, they had been trained to obey commands laced with profanity. When the miners were converted and stopped cursing, the horses no longer understood polite speech. This intensity took a toll. By 1906, surviving on 3 hours of sleep and pouring his entire life into the movement, 27-year-old Evan Roberts suffered a total physical collapse. This revival was more than a spiritual event. It was a disruptive force that rewrote the socioeconomic reality of a nation. Evan's physical collapse did not extinguish the flame. The fire had already leaped across the vast Atlantic Ocean. In Los Angeles, news of the Welsh Awakening directly inspired the Azusa Street Revival. It was a movement born in a dirt floor stable that would soon circle the globe. From Wales, waves of belief spread to every continent. Today, the Pentecostal and charismatic movements, tracing their roots to this awakening, number over 600 million people. Shaking a nation requires no elite pedigree or massive funding. It requires only total, unrelenting obedience. What is your 13-year prayer? And are you willing to ask God to bend you?